Our desk situation is a bit compromised this week, Shane. But we're not going to let that stop us from bringing you the best Ohio Bobcats in Mid-American Conference sports coverage, are we?
That's right. We got football, volleyball, field hockey, and the beginning of hockey season up next on Ohio Sports Zone.
Welcome into the Ohio Sports Zone. Ethan Graham, Rabbit Father Shane Dazen, as always. Shane, a 42-30 win last week for the Bobcats over the Kansas Jayhawks, a game that looks close, but it wasn't really even. Kansas with a couple of scores there in garbage time. Shane, 42-30 Ohio, what the hell happened?
Yeah, Rock Chalk Jayhawk no more. Ohio takes a convincing win at home in Peden Stadium in front of its adoring fans against the Jayhawks, a Big 12 conference win, and that's huge for this program as it collects another Power 5 conference victory. And it started early, and it started often for Ohio, getting off to an early 3-0 lead just about 5 minutes into the contest on a 41-yard kick from Louis Zervos, a sure-footed kicker for the Bobcats, one of the best in the MAC. And
Absolutely.
Nathan Rourke extended that lead to what would eventually be 11-0 after a fake PAT, 2-point conversion on a 3-yard run, and that was a thing of beauty. I think we can all agree about that one. Nathan Rourke dips and doodles his way around Kansas's defenders on the way to the 3-yard rushing score, his fourth of the season. Nathan Rourke showing it, he can do it with both his arm and his legs in the early going for the Bobcats. Like I said, 2-point conversion on a throw from Michael Farkas makes it 11-0 Bobcats. They'll extend that to 18-0 on a 10-yard touchdown pass from Rourke to Troy Mangin, his first of 2 on the afternoon for the Bobcats.
Hope you started Troy Mangin in your MAC Fantasy Football League, everyone out there.
Was elite this past weekend.
Absolutely.
Especially in the red zone where he is most utilized. 3 catches, 35 yards for number 82, as we said. Big target for the Bobcats. Hopefully you'll see him utilized a little bit more in the next few weeks after the big game. But at half, it was 25-14. It didn't really seem that close. Kansas finally broke off the schneid on a 56-yard run from Khalil Herbert. Big gush up the middle. Bobcats D was kind of exposed on that play, but they limited Kansas's opportunities early on in the contest. Despite an 11-point lead at half, like I said, it really wasn't that close. The second half was more the same for the Bobcats. 2 more touchdowns to begin the quarter on an 8-yard run from A.J. Ouellette, and then a 9-yard pass to Andrew Meyer from Nathan Rourke. So you like what you saw for the Bobcats, 39-14 at one point in the game, and it was a lot closer, like we said. By the end of the game, it was 42-30, but they got their work done early, and they were able to kind of coast at the end. Nathan Rourke, 11 of 16, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big day for him. Added that one on the ground as well. So 3 total touchdowns for Nathan Rourke, 102 yards for A.J. Ouellette, and 202 total yards of rushing offense for the Bobcats. Big stuff, guys.
Before we start talking about Eastern Michigan, let's not forget about the defense in this game. 30 points, but 2 of those touchdowns were in garbage time. Defense had a great game this week. Javon Hagan, the towel thief on social media, making all the rounds. He had a great game, rebounded as well with a lot of the rest of the secondary. Fox, Ellis played significantly better than they did at Purdue. Cam Odom, who's a guy on the offensive side of the ball, but he looks like more than a freshman out there. Really impressed with him so far. The defensive line had an absolutely huge game, and it wasn't Cleon Aloisi as much this week. He still did play well, but it was the guys like Trent Smart had 2 sacks, Kevin Robbins back there. Kent Berger got in on the action.
You love to see it.
Yeah, Kent Berger. It was a great game all around for the Bobcats. Great linebacking. Evan Crouch, Quentin Poling, Chad Moore, all with good games for the Bobcats. Poppy White went down in this game. It seems like he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. That should be a big problem for the Cats moving forward. Brandon Cope, Andrew Meyer, Troy Mangin certainly are all going to be targeted more moving forward. Shane, moving ahead this week, Ohio will head up to the Silver Turf in Ypsilanti, Michigan, take on the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Shane, this is a team that beat Ohio last year. Eastern is a 2.5-point favorite on At home, Brogan Roback threw for a whole bunch of yards here at Peden Stadium last year, 347 of them. Shane, how are the Bobcats going to stop this guy from going off again on that silver turf up there in Ypsilanti?
Yeah, it all starts and ends on that defensive line for the Bobcats. You talk about guys like Trent Smart, Alouesi, and then as you move back, Quentin Poling manning that linebacker's position for the Bobcats. Evan Crouch, who had 2 sacks against Purdue and who had another big week against Kansas this past weekend. So it really does begin and end on that defensive line. If you can hold them on the line, you're going to be able to get things, kind of singularly focused on that passing game. And if you can make situational plays for the Bobcats, they're not going to be able to stop every single attack. The corners for the Bobcats have done a very admirable job this year, but it's not like, Ohio's running out the best secondary unit in the league. So we got to worry about the aerial attack. If you can limit it on the ground, like I said, that's going to bode well for you. You're going to be able to kind of singularize that offense. And EMU has done an all right job this year, averaging 120 yards a game on the ground. So they're getting their yards, not earth stomping or anything like that, but they're doing well, averaging 147 yards against on the rush. So you got to look at that as an area where the Bobcats can kind of attack to have some lethal backs in A.J. Ouellette and Dorian Brown, and even Julian Ross, who has become a versatile piece for the Bobcats, situationally dynamic for Frank Solich. And I think that's where, like I said, it begins and ends. The running game is going to dictate this, not so much the passing game like I think everybody thinks.
One more thing I want to talk about before we go to break here is the special teams game. The Bobcats are going to be going up against another one of the best kickers in the MAC this week, Louis Zervos against Eastern Michigan's Paul Frianco. Paul Frianco is an absolute stud, helped them win some games last year. It is extremely important for Ohio to control their special team games, not only the kicking game, but the punting game, too. Michael Farkas loves drilling punts inside the 20, loves them inside the 10. And guys like D.L. Knock on special teams, absolutely dominating out there. Me and you talk about it all the time. Every time we look up, it's seemingly D.L. Knock coming up with a tackle for the Bobcats.
It's got to be the hair, honestly.
Wicked flow.
I thought this through many times. I've done math equations over DL Knock. This guy has kept me up all night long, and I keep coming back to that lettuce. I'm telling you right now, Ethan, you've got a nice head of hair.
Thank you very much.
This guy
I
will put
appreciate
you
that.
to shame. Down to here, it looks like a 70s rocker. DL Knock, you keep rocking on, buddy.
Shane, we are running out of time in this segment. Give me one sentence. Does Ohio get it done in Ypsilanti this weekend? Yes or no, and why? One sentence.
Yes, I think the Bobcats do get it done. Frank Solich, with experience going up against MAC opponents, especially
like 3 sentences.
Especially ones he's lost to
4
in recent seasons. I think that they avenge their loss against Eastern Michigan this weekend.
Thank you. Maybe we'll do some math, figure out how that was a little bit more than one sentence. But coming up next, MAC football. It's Ohio Sports Zone. We don't have a desk. Ohio Sports Zone. Still, Ethan Graham, Shane Dazen. Shane, let's talk some MAC football. This is my favorite variety of football in all of college football.
Some macaroni and football?
Sure, Maction, if you will. Let's talk about Miami of Ohio with a 1-2 record going to Central Michigan to open up MAC play. Both of these schools are coming off a loss last week, Miami to Cincinnati and Central Michigan to Syracuse. Both tough losses. Shane Morris has been an absolute stud for the Chips early this year. A transfer from Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. I really like what he's done with this offense. I think that they're going to open up at home, get it done. I mean, this team really is one bad game away, kind of like Ohio in that Purdue game, a couple bad quarters away from maybe looking at 3-0, maybe 4-0 after this weekend. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and you lose to an ACC team. Regardless of their stature in that conference, Syracuse is a Power 5 school, so you can't really hold it too high over their heads. Although, like, Ohio has won games in Power 5 conference against Power 5 conferences.
A lot of MAC schools have. Eastern Michigan just did it their last time out.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon by any
Absolutely.
means. But like I said, you can't hold it too high over their heads. Valiant effort, falls short against Syracuse. It wasn't really a close contest.
No, I think it was 41-17 was the final on that.
Something of that nature. I'm not 100% sure. I
wish we knew.
Misquote myself, but regardless of the nature, not a very close game against Syracuse last week. Although I do believe that Shane Morris is next level MAC quarterback. I really do think that this guy has got talent, and he's got the pedigree too. coming from a program like Michigan where he had a little bit of time to kind of ingratiate himself with a QB guru like Harbaugh. So
Yeah, he looks comfortable back there.
I think that bodes well for Central Michigan. Miami doesn't really have that experience behind center, and I think Chippewas will have their way with the Redhawks this weekend. Yeah.
Something we should not neglect to mention before we go talking about more MAC games this week. Let's talk about a school that's idle this week. The NIU Huskies, a huge win against Nebraska last week in Lincoln. 85,000 people there. Ryan Graham goes down last week. Daniel Santacolaterra, I just killed that name. I'm sorry, Daniel, if you're watching. But nonetheless, his name is something like that. 67.5% completion percentage. This kid is a stud. Came on, looked cool, calm, collected the whole 12 yards against Nebraska. They went in there, got a 21-17 win. Good for the MAC. Love beating those Big Ten schools.
Yeah,
Shane.
Frank didn't really have too much to say about the loss.
NIU to Nebraska,
Yeah,
right?
for Nebraska. He just said, you know what, that's a tough loss for them. He said, it'd
Yeah.
be a tough loss for anybody, but that's a tough loss for them.
Oh, it certainly is. Nebraska is a program maybe falling on hard times. We shall see as this college football season matures. Kent State is a team, Shane, that really, quite frankly, confuses me.
They're overachievers in the highest degree.
I would say they're attempting to be overachievers, but they're falling literally flat on their faces. This is a school that scheduled Clemson to open the season, got smacked. They're going to Louisville as a 44-point underdog. No, that's not a typo. 44 points. Shane, why are they doing this? I understand that the paychecks are nice and they're trying to build something, but where is there a point where you're trying to get to 6 wins, where you're trying to get to bowl eligibility? It's like, are you getting better if you continually just get blasted by these schools? My high school baseball team, we would have this problem. We would just go out there and we would schedule these elite high school teams that we had no chance of beating, and we wouldn't get better from it. Do you think Kent State is gaining anything by scheduling these big teams, Shane? Looks as if you've drawn some dollar signs for us.
Could you illustrate that for everybody?
That looks like $2 signs with a line over it.
That is all about the bottom line, my friends. All about the bottom line. That's why they're scheduling these big conference games. They get those ticket revenues. They get, some garnering for their program, some recognition for their program. And, regardless of the matchup, it doesn't really matter because in the end they're winning. They're getting people to hear their program's name on air against these big schools that they probably wouldn't watch if, they were just casually flipping through the channels on a Saturday
And Kent State is down a quarterback, too.
Good stuff for KSU. I applaud what they're doing.
You're crazy.
Albeit in a losing fashion.
You're crazy. Kent State just went down a quarterback for the season, too. Nick Hawley. Get healthy, Nick. We look forward to seeing you back next year, hopefully. The big game in the MAC this week, Toledo travels to number 14 Miami as a 13.5-point dog. This is a 3:30 start. Shane, this is the biggest non-conference game in the MAC, I think. This is Toledo's chance to prove that they're a real ball team. If they're going to pull a P.J. Fleck and Western Michigan Broncos, this is their big test. This is Logan Woodside's welcome to the show, welcome to the big lights moment. If they can get it done, can they get it done? I think they have a pretty good chance if they can play some defense.
They're going into the U to try to beat a Miami team that's 14th ranked in the
See
country.
that, Shane? That's the U.
That's something that MAC schools, don't typically succeed at very often, but that doesn't mean that Toledo is a typical MAC school.
It did happen last year. Central Michigan beat Oklahoma
State. I think that they're playing at a very high level right now. You look at what Logan Woodside has done for them at quarterback. He is a prolific passer, led the MAC in touchdowns. I think that was an all-time MAC record.
Was near the top of the country in touchdowns, actually,
last
Shane.
season. Yeah, 45 passing touchdowns. For Woodside, when you got that kind of talent behind center, I think anything's possible. And this is a sort of game where Toledo could come in and turn some heads, I think. I'm not guaranteeing a victory for the MAC. I'm kind of skeptically optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
Skeptically optimistic, cautiously optimistic, potato, whatever you want to call it. That's how I'm feeling right now about this contest. But I think that 13.5 points could easily be covered. I think that they could potentially pull off a victory.
Good stuff. I love the MAC. We're not going to be able to go on the road this week to Ypsilanti, so I'll for sure be sitting on my couch with like 4 TVs, 4 screens watching this football. Coming up next, we got some volleyball. It's Ohio Sports Zone. We're back. Still. We're here. It's Ohio Sports Zone. Ethan Graham, Rabbit Father, Shane Dazen. Shane, we have some field hockey news, I understand. Not going so well out there. What's going on?
Good news, Ethan. I'm sorry to disappoint. 1-7 on the season after back-to-back 3-0 losses this past weekend against Miami of Ohio and Ohio State, two interstate
I really wish they would have
rivals
beat Ohio
that
State.
You never want to lose to.
You never
want
wanna
to
see it.
lose to. And it was tough to see, and a lot of people, weren't very happy about it on the Ohio
Certainly.
end. We'll go into the matchup real quick
Yeah,
here.
let's do it.
So Kendall Ballard, first opportunity for Ohio in the 9th minute, not able to convert. Miami struck first in the 23rd minute, a goal from Alexis Nugent on an assist from Paula Portugal. Paula Portugal with a goal and 2 apples on the day. That is a goal and 2 assists for Paula Portugal. Overseas Portugal, they call her, able to get it done for Miami. They score 2 goals in the first half, score 1 more in the second, come away with a 3-0 victory, outshot Ohio 14-3. Alex Pennington with 3 saves in net for the Bobcats. And like you said, not the result you wanted to see, the 6th straight loss for Ohio, and it wouldn't get any better on Saturday against Ohio State. Same deal, 3-0, 2 goals in the first half, 1 goal in the second half for Ohio State. Bobcats were outshot 14-2 in the contest, couldn't get much going, and fell to 1-7, outshot 28-5 on the weekend. When you don't get offense generated, you're not going to be able to win games. Can't score goals, can't win games. So.
And who does the field hockey team have coming up next, and why is Ohio going to end this losing streak?
Well, they got Appalachian State and Davidson.
I believe App State's a MAC school.
App State is a MAC school. They started
Interesting.
0-2 in the MAC this year. Ohio obviously just played their first MAC game against Miami this past weekend, so 2 winless MAC programs in conference play heading into this weekend. Appalachian State 2-6 on the year, so not much better than the Bobcats. I think that's one thing that bodes well for them. It's not so much of an intimidating matchup where they feel that real pressure to kind of go out and get a victory. I mean, it's not obviously unpressured in this sense too, because they're down 7 games now at this point since their last victory. So every game's a big game. A team that was picked 4th in the MAC before the season started, not living up to expectations, are the Bobcats. So you got to look for a positive sign, and it comes against, like I said, 2 teams that aren't doing very well. Like I said, App State 2-6, and Davidson also 2-7 in the early season.
They are going to turn it around this weekend. I think they're going to enter with an L7. I think they're going to come out with a W2. Let's switch it up to volleyball. Things are going a little bit better on the hardwood for the Cats. They're 6-8. They are 3rd in the MAC East, and they have 2 road games this weekend. Yeah, 2 of them. A lot of traveling is going to be done. A lot of miles put on those bus wheels. The first stop is at Buffalo. Buffalo is 7-4. They are leading the MAC East chain. Now, granted, this is the first conference action, I should say. So that is only the out-of-conference games. This is one of Buffalo's best non-conference starts in women's volleyball program history. They're led by Paulina Prokudina, a 6'4" player from Moscow, Russia. She's been the MAC Offensive Player of the Week 2 of the last 3 weeks, 180 kills, 2nd in the MAC. Watch out for Paulina. She is a stud. The Bobcats will go to Alumni Arena. They will also go to Akron on their way home. It's about 3 hours north from here. 4-8 Akron is heading into this contest, but on Friday, Akron is going to play Kent State in the Crystal Clinic Wagon Wheel Challenge Showdown. Now, if that is not the best rivalry game name of any MAC rivalry, I don't know what is. That is incredible.
Try to say that 5 times fast.
I'm not going to try it. We already did it in our open. No, we should probably talk about
later,
sports.
guys.
Yeah, maybe. But Akron is a team that is led by Coach Tom Hanna. They beat Providence last weekend, who was unbeaten at the time, Shane. So this is a team that, can run into some wins and get it done. This is a team that's old and young at the same time. Let me explain. 6 starters, but 7 newcomers for the Lady Zips up there. They lost 3-1 to West Virginia last weekend, and they lost 3-1 to Army too. So let's see if this field hockey team or this volleyball team can get it together.
We shall. We shall.
Yep, awesome. Good stuff, Ohio Sports Zone. Coming up next, do you like hockey? Because we're going to talk about some ice hockey. We're back here in Ohio Sports, and Shane, you and I, we're not going to be able to go to the football game this weekend, which is disappointing.
Sad face.
But it is for a good reason. You are the play-by-play voice. I am the color commentary voice of the Ohio Bobcats hockey team, who opens up their 60th season this weekend at the Osian Seabird Arena against the John Carroll Blue Streaks. Shane, a 1-1 tie last weekend in the inter-squad scrimmage. Any takeaways from that game that we should keep in mind heading into this weekend series with John Carroll?
Yeah, well, the boys are still getting their legs back under them. Jake Fiala evidenced that in your interview. He said he was feeling a little bit tired, but it was good to get back out on the ice, good to play some competitive hockey, and the contest itself was a very competitive game, like we said, 1-1 tie. Zach Frank scores in the exhibition. He's an incoming player for this Bobcats team, a new ad, so you like to see that. These new faces chipping in the early going. It's going to bode well for him heading into this contest, this weekend's contest against John Carroll. Jimmy Thomas,
JT.
Doing very well again in net for the Bobcats,
As
saving
always.
18 of 19 shots for the white team. For the green squad, Mason Coster saving 18 of 19 shots as well. Jackson Chilberg getting some time in net too. Looks like Jimmy Thomas will get the bulk of the starts in the early going, at least, to start the year. He'll probably get the nod on opening night against the Blue Streaks, but look out for Coster and Chilberg to kind of battle out for that second and third spot. Coster has the edge going into camp, has the edge going into the season, but Chilberg looked impressive, and Coach Hogan said he thought very highly of his play so far in training camp too.
You know, Coach Hogan spoke a little bit about how this team, looks sloppy at times. That was to be expected. It's the first game. You're just getting your legs under you. There's a lot of new freshmen. Whatever the reason for that sloppiness may be, they need to clean that up this weekend against John Carroll. Now, they handled John Carroll pretty well last year. I'm not talking just, 2-3 goals. I'm talking 7, 8, 9, 10 goals. Handled them in terms of a
18,
football
19,
score.
20. They outscored them 20-0 in 2 games. A 13-0 victory and a 7-0 victory for the Bobcats last season against John Carroll on Parents Weekend. So everybody went home happy. Mom and Dad were thrilled. And, this is kind of a trend for Ohio to kind of schedule a team that maybe doesn't play quite a competitive schedule like Ohio does in the early going, kind of see where they are and what they need to work on as they move forward into their schedule. And John Carroll getting much better over the last few years, a program led by head coach Christian Wilk, finished 9-21-4 in 2015-2016, but last year rebounded to finish 23-13-1. So that's a very positive sign for the Blue Streaks and an indicator that they're not going to be quite the pushover that they were last year or the year before when they came into Bird.
I just love watching Jake Fiala and Jake Houston play on that first line on the back end. Go out there, eat up 20 minutes a game, consummate professionals, do everything you expect out of your first line, can move the puck offensively, but at the same time really be that shutdown pair that you need late in games. With that being said, is there any other defensemen or defensive pairings that you really think are going to take a big step forward this year and match the level of that Fiala-Houston line?
Well, Grant Hazel, any person you pair with Grant Hazel is going to be a good matchup on the back end for the Bobcats. This guy is a bone bruiser, guys. This is a big man, big body, hard shot, rumored to have shot a puck 100+ miles an hour.
Yeah.
Not confirmed, but we might have to get on ice and test him out ourselves someday. Regardless of the situation, Grant Hazel will be on the second pairing for the Bobcats. Who he matches up with could fluctuate in the early going. You might see a guy like Tom Picorni stepping in there. He has shown that he has carried a bigger payload for the Bobcats heading into this year. I think I kind of like those two playing together. The way their games work off of each other could be good for the Bobcats. But after that, I'm not sure exactly where you fill the rest of the units. I think it's something, like I said, that kind of changes from week to week. You might see matchups here and there that benefit either one part of the game or the other.
A lot of new guys, or not necessarily new guys even, but there's going to be a lot of increases in ice time. You have the freshmen like Zach Frank and Chilberg and Coaster on the other goaltending end. But, guys like Garrett Jenkins or Cody Black, who didn't have huge every game roles last year, would be scratches often, are going to have to play a lot more this year. This is a team that lost a lot of seniors. Talk a little bit about that and how that's going to have an impact on the season moving forward.
Yeah, the Bobcats lost 9 seniors last year. Not as much of a burden heading into next year. Only 3 seniors in this class. So, you're going to have to look to them to be leaders for this younger unit. But that, like I was talking about earlier this week with Paul Holden of Power 105.5 on the air, I was saying that this team has become a more cohesive unit through their national championship bid last year, through their successes in the regular season. I think the opportunity for these guys to play with each other on a consistent basis and produce together is going to be huge for the Bobcats this season. You look at Gianni Evangelista, a guy who had 32 points last year in his rookie season, flanked by Garrett Jenkins, flanked by Tyler Harkins at times, and Harkins also was able to chip in 20-plus points on that third line for the Bobcats. They were able to get production from Mike Pilasic's 25 points when he was paired with them as well. So those guys are going to shift upward, obviously. You're going to see Evangelista perhaps take that number 1 center position over from Matt Hartman last year and run with it. He'll see more time on the power play and on the penalty kill as well. And I think a guy like Tyler Harkins could end up on a top 6 unit, whether it be with Evangelista or with the second line. He is a hustle player. He's one of those guys that you can't really describe how much he means to a team because he's just all over the place. Energy, willing to sacrifice a body, and even though he doesn't have much of it, 5'8", 5'9", 160 pounds, but he's willing to hit with the best of them. So I like what he's done.
Yeah.
Scrappy player. And they're going to be in good hands.
Should be a good season moving forward. I would be shocked if we're sitting here next Thursday talking about even one Bobcats loss this weekend. Before we go, huge shout out to the Mid-American Conference donating a $1 million school grant to local Cleveland, Ohio schools. I love that stuff. I love this conference. I love covering the MAC. I love the Bobcats. And I love you for watching Ohio Sports Zone. We'll be back next Friday. See ya.